Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. With stories from your favorite Star Wars movies, television shows, and comics, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening now wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 333. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I am your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my Boba's Beans coffee mug from Celebration Chicago, sending out positive vibes to all of you, and thank you so much for spending time with me here on Coffee with Kenobi each and every week, as well as on Facebook Live Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central on Facebook.com/Coffee with Kenobi. On today's show, the awesome Ed Dolista from the IndieCast joins me to talk about the top 5 things we love about the Rise of Skywalker. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee is the host and creator of the IndieCast and one of my favorite people, Mr. Ed Dolista. Ed, welcome back to Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan. I love what you've done again with the studio. It's absolutely amazing. You've had a few upgrades, but the coffee is hot and delicious as always.
Well, good. I am so very glad. And longtime listeners of Coffee with Kenobi know that the very first time I was ever on a podcast, it was on the IndieCast. Ed invited me on, and we just talked. And my title was first I was the official, unofficial fan club president. Then I just became the official fan club president. And I will never forget how excited I was. And when you Skyped and contacted me, and you popped up and you said, "Hello, Dan," and I just thought, this is the greatest feeling in the world. I got to do this more regularly. You see, you created a monster, is what I'm saying.
A monster? I don't think so. I think I created a beautiful flower, and look how you've blossomed, which is fantastic. So I'm so excited and happy for your success.
Well, thank you, my friend. You've always been so kind. And Corey and I talked about this too. You were one of the people that helped kind of walk us through the process and get everything started. And I will always be grateful. It's great to have you on. Of course, the IndieCast, which we'll talk about later, still one of the best podcasts out there. But we're going to talk some Star Wars tonight.
Yes. I look, my other love is Star Wars. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Christopher Reeve as Superman. But I love Star Wars, and that's really where it began for me. My love of, I suppose, popular culture and
absolutely
movies and music and special effects and fantastic creatures and everything. As everyone who I think first saw, Star Wars for the first time back then, or whenever they saw it for the first time, I think it was a life-changing event for me.
You know what? I've never thought about Star Wars as sort of the birth of popular culture for me, and it absolutely is. I mean, the marketing, the merchandising, the event, the experience, the conversations, the friendships that grew out of it, that certainly brought popular culture into my world as well. Good call.
Oh yeah, for me at that age, I probably. Look, before then I had, we were talking a bit off mic earlier about $6 Million Man. Like that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I used to get the toys and things like that. I suppose that was the closest in some way, a TV show and merchandise and things like that, but nowhere near the, galaxy sprouting adventures of Star Wars. So.
Absolutely. Well, the last installment, The Rise of Skywalker, has come and gone. Now it's starting to drop. You can get it digitally. It's going to be out on Blu-ray very, very soon. So we're going to talk about, as we did with all the Star Wars films, we're going to talk about the top 5 things we love about The Rise of Skywalker. There are a lot of things we can talk about, a lot of things we can discuss. These can be places, these can be people, these can be themes, memories, moments, action sequences, musical cues. It doesn't really matter. Wherever the Force takes you, of course, Ed. So before we get to our top 5, kind of overall, what are your thoughts on the film?
Look, I really enjoyed it. I thought it felt to me like Star Wars. I I enjoyed all elements of it. I saw it multiple times at the cinema. I had a few little, queries, I suppose, some niggles, but overall, I know there was a lot of, online people who didn't really enjoy it, but I was not one of them. I thought, this is great fun. It's Star Wars, and
That's right.
I had a blast.
It brought a lot of great moments and memories and some key aspects to the saga mythologically. So why don't we just kick it off? Go ahead and give me your number 5 of top 5 things you love.
Okay, this is sort of in reverse because I really liked the climactic battle. I felt that it reminded me a little bit of Return of the Jedi. Where you had those multiple stories all coming to a head. I thought the visual effects for that was fantastic. The visceral experience of the battle, the visuals with Palpatine, even the Orbaks. I wasn't Space horses, I sort of dug them. I didn't mind them at all. I thought that whole climactic battle was just a feast for the eyes and the ears. And remember the first time I saw it, I was grinning ear to ear.
And so you're you're saying just basically the space battle itself, but not necessarily, while you love the ending, not necessarily the part with the lightsabers and Palpatine, right?
How everything sort of came together, that like with Return of the Jedi, where you had the Endor bunker, you had Darth and Luke fighting it out on the Death Star, and you had Lando and Nine Numb on that. I just like all those elements coming together. I just loved it. It just brought me back to Return of the Jedi, that climactic battle as well, and I really enjoyed the whole experience.
That's great. So my 5th one, gosh, I'm going to have a lot of ties, I think. My 5th one is Leia and Rey's relationship, kind of with also, in addition to that, the way that ILM was able to take the footage of Carrie Fisher and breathe life into this character who, this beloved actress who's obviously no longer with us, and to make it feel real. And not like some weird, strange, forced perspective where you can tell it's CGI. It was brilliant. It was amazing. I've had plenty of people come up to me and say, "When did they film this movie? I thought Carrie Fisher had passed away." I'm like, well, she did. And the fact that they were able to use it and evoke legitimate pathos and evolve this character of Leia Organa in such a way that, again, wasn't a gimmick or a trick or just something to show that they could do, but to actually show her as she's actually a Jedi, a master. When Rey refers to her as master, my eyes about popped out of my head. And I looked at my wife and I said, she called her master. And it so much more so in Ray Carson's novel do they really kind of go into that a little bit more. But the evolution of that and the fact that Rey looks at Leia kind of as a mother figure. And in the novel that Ray Carson does say, she looks at Rey as like a daughter type. Yes. I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was just kind of one of the right emotional beats that I didn't know that I needed, but I thought it was beautiful.
I thought I'm really happy that they decided to, put Carrie Fisher back in. And I think probably the first time I saw it, it was a little not jarring in the sense that it didn't look natural or the filming techniques or anything like that. I think because I knew it's that she had passed on and this was footage from a previous movie. I think a little part of me was thinking that. It's the same with when Governor Tarkin, when we see Peter Cushing in Rogue One, I go, okay, I know that's not it, and unfortunately part of my brain just wouldn't turn off with that. Whereas my niece and nephew, who we took to see it, had no idea that he had died and didn't even realize he was a CGI character. So it's all that certain point of view, isn't it? I suppose.
Yes.
To that, but I thought that integration was good, and I would have obviously loved to have seen what coulda, woulda, shouldas. If Carrie was still alive and what they had planned for that character. But it was lovely to see, Leia again, for one one last time, I think.
Right. And I agree. It didn't have those echoes of like, well, I know this is a CGI character. This was a beautiful part of the story. What is your number 4?
My number 4, and these are sort of in, not necessarily in American top 40 order, but I really liked 3PO's bigger role in this film. Behind me is a 1977 standee of C3PO, and I love 3PO, and I always felt, especially in the books, even if we're talking about that, I always felt like, everyone's a real bully to 3PO just because he's a robot. Like I'm really friendly to my Google Home device. I always say thank you and and all that sort of stuff. And I find they're quite rude to 3PO. He may not be a human, but he's a being, just a metallic one. So it was nice to see him have a bit more of a featured story and utilized a little more because on that point I do wish R2 had a little bit more to do, because for
the
me,
whole sequel trilogy, really.
Yes, absolutely, because I love BB-8 as well, but for me it's R2 and 3PO. I remember on the good old Marvel Comics, they used to have, who was it they'd have up there in the top corner? It was R2 and 3PO. They were the constant really throughout all the movies. So I really feel like R2 could have had a bit of a bigger role, but I loved that 3PO had a lot more to do and was a bit more integral to the story. And because Anthony Daniels is it's amazing what he does to emote, behind that costume. He was fantastic.
Have you read his autobiography?
I haven't yet, no. It's on my list.
He addresses those things that you just talked about, and it's just almost feeling like the 3PO was bullied and how you felt great moments of isolation while filming some of these sequences. And I think it does carry over to his performance. I think you'd really like it.
Oh, good. I'll do that. So I've still got, I'm just churning through, not churning, that's the wrong word. I'm going through, I've got Jim Henson's biography, which I've almost finished. And then I've got George Lucas's ready.
Same author.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And then that will be my next one. So I think I'll have a bit of extra time on my hands in the next
You may have some time for reading.
I might.
Oh, that's a great one. And one I think that sometimes is overlooked, and even in the trailer, you could tell that 3PO is going to have a much more powerful role, and he certainly did.
Yes.
So my next one is it's sort of another tie too, which I've been around Jeff McGee too much to get all these ties on these top 5 lists, I guess. But it's the opening crawl. I'll never forget The Dead Speaks or The Dead Speak.
Yes.
And I just thought, my jaw dropped to the floor. It actually, not literally, but pretty close. I just thought, oh my gosh, we're going to find out right away what's going on. Palpatine's actually back. What's going on here? I thought that was just spellbinding, and just knowing it was the last crawl, but I didn't feel sad or nostalgic. I just felt happy that I got to be a part of this from the beginning, and to just see that and know that I got to be a part just by being a fan, being a part of this franchise and enjoying it. And I love the fact that the first time I saw Star Wars was at a drive-in movie theater in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1978. And then the last Skywalker film I saw at Mann's Chinese Theater at the premiere where it first aired for the first time, the original. I thought that was what a perfect sort of bookend to this thing, and being able to sit next to my bride and to experience that with her just from the opening crawl on. And that was the only time when I've been in a movie theater where I was like chanting and screaming and like I was watching a sporting event. Just what? Yellow lightsaber? What? This, just having so much fun with it, which I think ultimately that's why we like Star Wars and we like popular culture, because it's fun. It's engaging. Yes. And I was hooked from the opening sentence in that crawl.
Yep. I think that the Dead Speak, it's such a pulpy opening sentence. And that's exactly what Star Wars is. I think, many a time people go, oh, it's, was this or that, and go, think back to when you were like 7 or 8, which is what all these films are designed for. And if you can unleash your kidult or your inner child, you will love it's again with like King the Crystal Skull. People, put on all that, all that adult baggage and whatever, and just let that go in, enjoy for 2.5 hours, be a kid again. And that's probably like one of my, that's probably linked throughout all this is what I liked about that film is it made me feel like a kid again for that 2 hours. I felt like I was watching, Star Wars. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So what is your next one? Yeah, I guess I should say, there's really not an order for either of our lists of like what's our favorite and what's our least favorite or whatever. It's just kind of like top 5 things that just sort of jump out at us.
Because while you were talking about that, I thought of another moment, but I might add that a little bit. It might be a 2 point, something like that. But for 3, and it was again not in any particular order. I loved the return of Han, Lando, Palpatine, and Wedge. Though I would have liked to have seen a lot more of Wedge.
He's just kind of wedged in there.
I don't get it. No, I see what you did. That was great. I thought Wedge, they could have utilized Wedge a little bit more because it was pretty much a blink and you'll miss it. I had no idea about Han coming back for that cameo. No, zero. So that was I just go, wow, that was fantastic. Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian was absolutely wonderful, and I would have loved to have seen, more of him. And Emperor Palpatine was what a scene-chewing villain. It was just awesome to see him. I wish they had a few more of those things, like throughout the I suppose the new trilogy. What are we calling the PT, the OT? What's this called? The
sequel trilogy, I guess.
The ST, the sequel trilogy.
The ST, sure.
I felt like, and I love dearly Max von Sydow as an actor, but I always thought they should have had either his character should have been either Wedge or it should have been General Medine. I don't know why they didn't, tie things. I always thought General Medine. Why didn't they? Because he was underutilized. Why didn't they use him in that part? So I felt like they could have had a few more. And actually, this jumps to I'll jump again. Sorry, with that with those cameos or extended cameos or characters, I love seeing John Williams as the bartender. I thought that was awesome.
There's a wonderful thing on the Blu-ray or on the digital download that shows the behind the scenes what went into the Easter eggs of his cameo, and you're gonna love it.
Oh, great! I have actually I've pre-ordered the 4K disc of the Rise of Skywalker and the 4K disc of A New Hope. I don't have a 4K TV, but I just thought I'll get them anyway because they come with the Blu-rays. So that adds to my collection. Yeah. I've got the movie as well. I got in 4K. I'm just future-proofing my viewing just in case. But I'm looking forward to watching those extra features on there. That's part of the fun, especially this with that extended. They usually have. I'm pretty sure they've got like a movie length documentary on the making of those films. They're always top notch. So
they really are. The Last Jedi one was great, and this one I promised earlier in the week that I was going to review this, but we're going to save that because we want to kind of talk about the movie first before we went into sort of all the little special features. But we'll get to that next week for sure. My third one is sort of piggybacking on what you just talked about, but it's Kylo Ren's evolution and the return of Harrison Ford.
Yep.
I always was intrigued by Kylo Ren as a character. I love his design. I love his lightsabers, but I never really got the appeal of him. And then I saw The Rise of Skywalker, and I thought, well, they did something I didn't think that I would like or that would work, but they made him redeemable and they made me believe it. And Adam Driver's performance, I thought, was by far the best in The Rise of Skywalker. And it was subtle when it needed to be. It was emotional when it needed to be, but it was also reined in too. And at the end, when Harrison shows up, I didn't expect either, but I heard, "Hey kid," and I looked at Deanna and I said, "Do you know who that is?" And she said, "No." And everybody was so quiet, and I have goosebumps just saying it now. And he walked out, and I just had, tears again, because I thought, "Oh my God, he's here. And it was just wonderful. And then Ben becomes Ben, then throws that lightsaber into the waters, and it was just so good. And then even what John Williams does, when he's Ben Solo, they play Kylo Ren's theme, but they played it at a different, I don't even know. I mean, you're much more of a music guy than I am, but they play it differently, and it's heroic, and it's not dark, and it's more beautiful, and it's not haunting anymore because he's not haunted inside. And I just think there's a lot of beautiful metaphor that is going on with that. And I thought that was one of the best things, not only about this movie, but about all 9 Star Wars films in the Skywalker saga.
Well, that's perfect, because my number 2 was Kylo and Rey and their interactions, and specifically Kylo's redemption. I absolutely agree with you. Adam Driver's a fantastic actor.
Yes.
And he was I found him totally believable. His actions, the reasons for what he was doing, his presence on screen, his commitment, to the character, I thought were fantastic. I bought his redemption as well. He has done horrible things, but people can change. It doesn't lessen what they have done. But I felt that one moment I knew that he was Han Solo's son, was that that shrug that he does while the Praetorian Guard are all around, and he just nailed it in that one moment. And I'm going, he's got it. So that was really, really good. I felt like he wasn't a one note. Captain Phasma was again a lost opportunity sort of thing, whereas I do felt like they put some care and thought into Kylo's journey.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. It was very, very probably and very Shakespearean, which of course is something that you and I obviously love, considering what we do for our day jobs.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll finish out our list, and undoubtedly we'll have some honorable mentions. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books but can't find the time? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren to Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters from the Star Wars galaxy. Listen to the newest books in the Star Wars universe, like The Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition by Ray Carson, featuring new content you didn't see in theaters. Looking for something your kids can listen to? Try Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, a junior novel by Michael Koji. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Available wherever audiobooks are sold. As everyone knows, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. They are wonderful and have always been so great and kind and supportive to me and my family, both for our travel and for travel for the show. Naturally, recently, travel is very, very different. In fact, it's not going on right now at all with everything going on in the world. And the good news is that with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, they are going to help you have peace of mind. MEI and Mouse Fan Travel wants you to know that you are valued clients, but you're a part of the MEI family. They are putting their decades of experience to work to guide you through this uncertain time. They are going to be your advocates and are going to keep you informed and prepared to travel with confidence when you are ready, when you are comfortable. And they are suggesting that you postpone but don't cancel. They're still open for business. They will help you dream of your next trip. It doesn't have to be in 2020. It can be 2021 and beyond. This is why I love and trust MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, because they will take care of it and me. And they will you too. They're going to be looking up things and helping me and all of you to have peace of mind so that when you're ready, when things have settled down, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel will be the place for you to go. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, of course, or go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. We are back, and I believe, Ed, if I'm not mistaken, as we're going through our top 5 things we love about the Rise of Skywalker, or just top 5, or just 5 things we love about the Rise of Skywalker. Are we on my number 2? Is that right?
And I think we're at my number 1.
You're 2 and 1. Okay, very good. So my number 2 is the music. Obviously it's John Williams, right?
Yes.
Oh, this must be maybe this is your number 1.
That's my number 1.
Great minds think alike, right? I liked. There were certain key pieces in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi that I think are great, especially the track in The Last Jedi where the spark, where Luke faces the First Order. I think that might be the best moment in any movie ever, at least for me personally. So there's great ones, but overall the soundtracks, I like them, but it's not like I go back to the well. I think this is the finest soundtrack in the sequel trilogy, the ST, as they say. And it's just, it's beautiful. It hits all of the right, well, I guess it does hit all the right notes, doesn't it? But just the way that they go through kind of the catalog of John Williams' Star Wars oeuvre, and it's beautiful. It stays with you. It's a lovely, fitting tribute, and an excellent exclamation point. And I legitimately think that ILM should have won an Oscar for what they did with Carrie Fisher. In addition to everything else, they're making us believe that Star Wars is real, and I don't think that should be overlooked, but I think that it is sometimes. And John Williams' score for this film, I think it's brilliant.
I totally concur with you. That's why it was my number 1. Of all the ST scores, while I enjoyed The Force Awakens, I don't know, it just felt a little, I don't know, it felt a bit non-Star Warsy to me. It was a bit too, maybe I'm one of the problems, I'm too old school with regards to, because I listened to those original trilogy scores nonstop. I wore out the vinyl on those. So, and there was so many memorable themes with those. With the prequel trilogy, I felt like each prequel score had, the standouts. Duel of Fates was fantastic. We had Across the Stars. That was from Revenge of the Sith, wasn't it? Was that from Revenge of the Sith?
Across the Stars is Attack of the Clones.
Okay, and what was the one from Revenge of the Sith?
The Duel of the Heroes, Battle of the Heroes.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So they had those standouts. Whereas I felt like, apart from Rey's theme and a few others in the sequel trilogy, while they were enjoyable scores for me, they just, I don't know, didn't have the weight.
They don't stand out.
No, that by no means are they poorly done, or
no,
they just, for me, they weren't. But the Rise of Skywalker score was one that have listened to multiple, times, and I'm sure I'm going to listen to it again. And maybe it is because they do bring in those familiar themes to me, but they just hit the right buttons for me. And I thought, that was fantastic. Just the I suppose the amalgamation of the music with the on-screen action and, hitting those heartstrings, they just worked for me. So that was my number 1.
That's an excellent choice. My number 1 is Rey's presence. I struggled a little bit with Rey at parts in this, because I was wondering where her inner conflict came from, because I feel like she resolved quite a bit in The Last Jedi, but I stayed with it. And they made it work. They pieced it together. But at the end, the fact that she goes back to Tatooine and retains that youthful innocence, sliding down that little dune, similar to what she did on Jakku, taking the lightsabers and burying them in Tatooine, and then the moment when they say, "Who are you?" and she says, "Rey Skywalker." When that happened, I just felt joy, and I felt sort of like, I don't know what I want to say, relief, but I felt satisfied because I felt like it did what The Last Jedi did so beautifully. It showed that you're not your family is obviously the most important thing, but it doesn't define who you are. We're not all blessed to come from beautiful nuclear families. It just doesn't happen. It's not the way of the world. I didn't come from a nuclear family, but ultimately your family is who you're close to, who you would do anything for, who would do anything for you. And it helps sort of define your own destiny in that way as well. So you have power and you also have relationship. And she shows that I'm going to continue this legacy. I'm not going to say I'm Rey Palpatine. I don't think that's going to work so well. I think that would be an absolute nightmare. And she wants to get away from that. And then she turns on a yellow lightsaber. And I don't know about you, Ed, but I thought instantly of Luke Skywalker's Kenner lightsaber.
Yeah,
and
me
how
too.
his was yellow. And then I had just been to Galaxy's Edge, and I bought, on a whim, a yellow kyber crystal. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's just so perfect. How fortuitous that happened. And then I'll just throw in there also the fact that we got to see, I'll save the next one for my honorable mention. So yeah, I'll just stick with that one for my number one.
Great choice.
Yeah, thank you. Now, do you have, how many honorable mentions do you have just from us talking about this here on the show?
Well, I've probably got, a lot, but one honorable mention I will say is the, after the opening crawl, the opening sequence is a cracker of an opening sequence with the jumps to, light, the micro jumps to light speed. That whole sequence was fantastic. The banter between all those, the giant slug snail guy. I don't know I can't remember what but everything was just like, whoa, wow. I love that. I did always laugh though, that when they're trying to get to that place, why didn't they just go from the other side? If they're coming from here, I'm doing this on, it's like the trench run, I suppose. Why don't they just go straight down? But anyway, that's an aside. I did really like that. And that just threw us in the action. And, I suppose all those action sequences in the Rise of Skywalker were, I thought, fantastic. There was a bit of Indiana Jones in them. I felt during that, I did think, I thought, JJ would be a good choice to direct an Indiana Jones movie. I felt, he's got that happy medium between the new wave of directors and the classic Spielberg touch. So I really enjoyed that opening sequence.
No, that's a great call as well. It felt very Star Warsian, and then Kylo Ren, kind of taking it from the reverse perspective, where you see the bad guys taking over right away. As far as I can remember, that's never happened in a Star Wars movie. So I thought that was interesting as well. My main honorable mention is Leia's legacy with the Force. I've always thought, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, Claudia Gray's book was a great one that kind of showed one of the first examples of her canonically of noticing the Force but not knowing what it was. And then The Last Jedi, there's the gorgeous moment where looks like she's going to die, and then she uses the Force. I always kind of equivocated it to sort of like Dr. David Bruce Banner, trying to tap into that adrenaline so he can turn into the Hulk. And that was sort of what I thought, well, this is just a survival instinct. But then we start to see, no, actually, she's been training for a while. And she worked with her brother. And then we see, I'm such a huge fan of lightsaber hilts. And so to see Leia have a lightsaber and see that hilt, I was absolutely thrilled by that. And again, Ray Carson's novel talks a lot about her training with Luke and her thought process, and gives more context about why she stopped training to be a Jedi, even though she still maintained, being a part of the Force, the living Force, and building that relationship with the Force. And it's really good. I didn't think that Leia needed more. I feel like her arc was pretty well tied together, but this added some richness and depth to it that I didn't expect. And I never wanted her to be a Jedi or to have a lightsaber. It was going to be, again, I keep saying this, but if it was going to be like a gimmick or to sell some action figures or some great little Nerf lightsabers, which I would have bought. But it was because it worked for this character, and it just gave Leia the lovely ending. And not to mention the fact that how she passes on in the Force, but she waits until Ben does too. I thought that was lovely.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it was just good to see, especially after all the, I suppose all those they're not legends, aren't they? The books, that we've read about Leia's exploits after Return of the Jedi and what have you. I think it was great to see her, imagining what she had done as a Jedi and how she was able to pass it on to Rey. I thought was really great.
I absolutely agree. So I think that pretty much covers the main stuff I loved about the Rise of Skywalker. I do like that it shows that, again, like all the Star Wars films, the idea of a surrogate family and how you define yourself through your choices, not your blood. Although that certainly can play into it, but it was who you are, who you choose to be. And you have power, you have agency. And the importance also of people from different backgrounds coming together. It was great. I will say, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more with Finn. I feel like they kind of wrapped up his arc in The Last Jedi. I would have liked to have seen more from him. I was a little puzzled by kind of the drastic change in who Poe Dameron was. But again, overall, it was a really nice ending to my favorite movie series of all time.
Yep, I agree. Again, few things, as you said, with Finn, that Rose, I think, had great potential as a character, was unfortunately sidelined. I felt like the addition of a few characters. Forgive me, I'd count the on the moon of Endor, where the horse, the good old Orback riders. I felt I felt they could have.
Jana, is that her name? Yeah.
They maybe they didn't need those characters, whereas they could have used some of the existing characters a little bit more. But it's amazing. Look, when a 9-movie saga, trying to tie everything up in a neat bow, which was never going to be possible, never going to be able to please everyone. I think what J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and the whole team did was pretty amazing. That we got a watchable, enjoyable, film. Yes, I agree very much.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is
That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk some Star Wars. It is a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends there as well. I also want to thank all of our new and longtime members of the CWK family and let you know how much I appreciate your help and support. I love being able to give back to you with CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. I want to thank our CWK family members, Dennis Keithley, Jason Hall, Angela Sauce, Chris Kavarka, Aaron Harris, Alexander Moylan, Ross Halliban, Jeff Ellis, David Nicely, Adam Bankhurst, Jessica Berry, Colby Mead, Frank Mulder, LJ Souter, Mark Suter, Nick Deco, Eric Struthers, BJ Smith, Jared Cantor, Brian McKinney, Christian Dale, Daz Davies, Thea Selby, Chris Metz, Caroline Maselli, Jim Capron, Blake Weaver, Brian Harding, Dan Ream, Kurt McKellen, Christine Turk, Simbot Defterdarian, Ian Thompson, Alex Procasio, Hannah, Tyler Pompa, Connie Shee, Susan Gray, Chelsea Sansbury, and Josh Boylan. If you want to be an exclusive member of our CWK family, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/support. It's a great way to help support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. In addition to being a part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and check us out on Pinterest. You can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, and you can find my writing on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com and on IGN. And if you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and help you make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzymedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired. Don't be afraid to take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our CWK sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet that you want to go on vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps spread the word. Well, Ed, of course, thank you so much for coming back to Coffee with Kenobi. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you again.
Thank you so much, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to chat, and let me know when you're free. Always happy to chat Star Wars.
I would love to. So before we let you go, people undoubtedly are going to want to know where to continue the conversation with you and where they can find your great work at the IndieCast, the best Indiana Jones podcast on the planet.
Oh, thank you so much. I should put that on our poster. That's very kind.
Boom.
We've basically the best place to find us is at theindycast.com. That's where you can download each episode. We've got our Facebook page. Just do a search for the IndieCast, and we're always happy to chat and talk Indiana Jones. You can find us at the usual places as well on iTunes and Stitcher, and we're on Twitter as well, but mainly Facebook. We're a little bit old school, so
Instagram presence as well.
We do, but yeah, it's very limited. It's because I've got to remember to post on there because I always there's so many. You know how it is. There's so many different ways that you can reach out to people. I wouldn't call myself a technological dinosaur, but I'm that sort of stuff. So,
well, yeah, definitely be sure to check out the IndieCast. And again, Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on Coffee with Kenobi twice this week, and I guess we're going to keep on going twice a week as long as everyone is interested in more Star Wars conversation over a hot cup of coffee, tea, or wherever your beverage of choice is. Be sure to join us again Monday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time on Facebook Live on Coffee with Kenobi, www.facebook.com/Coffee with Kenobi, or in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and be a part of that conversation. This will be our third show. I'm continually adding to the studio in the Coffee with Kenobi house so that I can make this Facebook Live experience awesome for you. I sure am having a lot of fun doing it as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. With stories from your favorite Star Wars movies, television shows, and comics, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening now wherever audiobooks are sold.